Okay, ladies and gents, so very pleased to be joined in this Meet the Board series for Property Entrepreneur by not only Property Entrepreneur but also Property Entrepreneur of the Year 2018, Adam Goff from Capital Living, ladies and gents. Welcome, Adam.
Hi everyone.
How are we?
Very well, Dan, thank you.
Very pleased to have Adam on the call today. We're actually out here in Mallorca doing the 2018 Property Entrepreneur Retreat, and further to Adam winning his award, he's also moved into the place of the Property Entrepreneur host for the programme 2018-19. So we've come out here a few days early before all of our other property entrepreneurs arrive, and we've been mapping out the year ahead, thinking of new ideas, how to continually develop the programme. In the next sort of 10 to 15 minutes, what we're going to do is Adam's going to share with you as much value as he can over his experience. He's going to tell you about what he was into pre-business and pre-property, where he was before he started the Property Entrepreneur Programme, what his journey was like on the Property Entrepreneur Programme with his business, and then he's going to share some key learnings to give you some value and 3 top tips that you can take away today and really start thinking about and focusing on in your entrepreneurial journey and building into your business. So Adam, if you want to start off, anyone who hasn't heard of you before, doesn't know about you, your backstory, what's your story sort of pre-business and property?
Okay, so I started in property around the age of 25.
Okay.
But before that, I left university. I did a brief spell in the British Army. I was an officer in the infantry. Thought a life of service was for me, but actually I was quite into the thrill of the chase and definitely wanted to sort of have a successful career sort of financially. So after university, I got an internship with Lehman Brothers in investment banking. Did a 3-month internship with them.
You're not held responsible for anything that happened to them, are you?
I left a year before they went bust, so
so it was your fault.
I set a time bomb. Yeah. No, yeah, had a lucky escape there, frankly.
Yeah.
Pre-crash, thought investment banking was the one. Did it for 2.5 months. Realised I absolutely hated it.
Okay, very good.
Bit disenchanted. So read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad on the tube to and from work. Absolute game changer in terms of knowledge. And I kind of remembered that I had this real fondness for entrepreneurship, for making money, for doing deals, the cut and chase, the excitement. So I decided to politely decline the offer with Lehman Brothers, and I went back to my university town in Birmingham and I set up my first business. So I set up that business by myself within about a month with the £1,500 I'd saved from the internship. And then within 3 years, I'd actually set up 3 different businesses, doing a variety of different things. I was involved in ticketing for events, then that morphed into a student events business, and then we did some stuff with telecom. So I was kind of very entrepreneurial, thinly spread, got into various things, and then actually decided that property was what I really wanted to focus on, and I founded Capital Living back in 2009.
Lovely. So many of you will be able, those of you that are existing entrepreneurs will be able to resonate with that journey of always being entrepreneurial, selling things from an early age, having that creative mindset, and we've all followed a similar journey. Adam also talked about moving outside of jobs that he didn't enjoy, so he was outside of his, was not in his flow in the finance sector, moving into entrepreneurship and sort of committing to that. Most recently, he moved into the property sector, started to build a property business that's now called Capital Living. Do you want to give us a quick run through of how the journey's been with that company?
Yeah, it's been an absolute roller coaster.
Standard.
I started the business. I'd saved some money in my other businesses. I started the company with £12,000 in 2009. Capital Living is a rent-to-rent business. We were one of the first rent-to-renters, I guess, back then. The business model obviously is to rent houses long-term, convert the houses into HMOs.
You have a certain profile of tenants and accommodation, don't you?
Yeah, so it's a sublet model.
What made the headlines?
Landlord rents to tenants who like to party. Chelsea snobs paying £1,000 a room. I don't know. Yeah, there's all sorts. So yeah, I decided to target the high-end young professional market in southwest London.
Yeah.
We started in Fulham. Within 18 months, I had about 10 houses running around like a blue-ass fly. Had a business partner, split up with him, went on that kind of downward turn, then built the business back up, and it's been business isn't a straight line, so it's definitely been an up and down journey over the 9 years I've been doing it.
Very good.
Yeah.
And then when you got to the point just before joining Property Entrepreneurs, give everyone some insight into what the business was like then, size, experience, environment. What did the business look like before you started Property Entrepreneur?
Yeah, so a year ago actually, or just a little more than a year ago, the business was, I had, been fortunate enough to have good traction with the business, a moderate level of success. I built the company to 8 staff, 260 bedrooms, which in rent to rent is quite a lot.
Yeah.
So we'd gone through the initial stages of me kind of running everything onto a small team, up to the investor level, I guess, using the Property Entrepreneur methodology. But I'd, back in 2014, I'd set a very clear vision to get to that investor level. Actually, I had a business coach, and I'd set a vision, a 3-year vision of, 260 rooms, 7 staff, profitable enough to earn profit and earn an income. I got to a certain level, and actually then, that was in 2017, I'd got to that level, 2016, actually 2017, and I must admit, at that point, I became a little bit lost. Like I'd lost a bit of clarity. I'd got to where I was always heading to, and I'd put this effort into getting there. And then actually, obviously, what happened is once we'd got there, a load of problems came down the pipe. Once you grow a business, often there's a bit of a lag. Operationally, you might get to your certain room target, but then it's the next 12 months you're really kind of catching up. So we had like a bit of a difficult year, and I was thinking, well, what do I really want from the business? What's next for the business? What's next for me? So I came to Property Entrepreneur looking for some clarity.
Very good.
Which is the main thing.
And what you might have picked up on from this interview is, Adam, whereas we have a lot of people who come on Property Entrepreneur who are starting a business for the first time, or they've built their business and now it needs systemizing and then scaling, what you're probably picking up is Adam is probably one of the most advanced entrepreneurs who've joined the program. And it might be challenging to think, if you already achieved that sort of size business and you've got that size team, what more is there to actually learn to take the business forward? And you've actually won quite a few awards for your entrepreneurship before joining Property Entrepreneur, didn't you? What were they?
Yeah, we were very fortunate. We got listed in the Startups 100 list. We got runner up on a couple of the Landlord and Letting Awards. We won National Portfolio Landlord of the Year at the London Landlord Association Awards back in 2014. That was fantastic. And I was lucky enough to be named Young Gun Entrepreneur, which recognises the top 20 entrepreneurs under 35 every year. So yeah, we'd had a little bit of success there. We'd been in national newspapers. We'd been on TV. We had a documentary about
E4
business.
Followed you around for 3 months, didn't they?
Yes, yeah, E4. I stupidly said yes to letting them into my inner life, but no, it was good fun. But they did follow us around for 3 months, and we had a 45-minute documentary aired after the Made in Chelsea programme on E4 about the business, me, my life, the company, what our tenants get up to. So we've had amazing coverage, and to lots of people on the outside looking in, they maybe said, oh, you've sort of ticked all these boxes, but of course there's always I think in every entrepreneur there's a hunger to do more and a hunger to drive and raise the bar.
Absolutely.
And I think really what I decided when I got to that point was I need to raise that bar, and I need to look around for someone who can help me raise it. And I was attracted to an article you wrote in YPM magazine. I think that's what started our relationship.
So Adam started the Property Entrepreneur program. He's just completed his first year, and he won the top performer for that year, and he's just about going to year 2, and he's going to be our host for year 2 as well. He brought all that experience and knowledge with him. So for those of you that are very experienced in the sector and in entrepreneurship, you might struggle to think what else can I learn. If you want to share with everybody to give them as much value as possible, what did you actually learn through the year? What was the journey like? What key learnings did you have through it? How did the 12 months play out for you in practice?
Yeah, I think perhaps it could be quite easy to think you've nailed something, and I think it's very important to stay hungry.
Yeah.
I think Matthew McConaughey and The Rock both talk about staying hungry. So if people are perhaps out there watching this thinking I don't need this, that's definitely a trap I fell into. Then I find things will come and bite you from the behind if you're not prepared and you're not on your A game.
Yeah.
So I think it's always good to be pushed. I think for me the best thing about like I said, having a little bit of experience, having run and grown a business, being in a mastermind environment, being around like-minded entrepreneurs, really helped me with my layer my learning and really expand my learning. So I think theory is one thing, but implementation is quite another. It's quite one thing to read a book and get inspired, maybe on holiday or at the weekend when you're a sort of committee of one. But being on the board, and being around like-minded entrepreneurs, we would interactively learn and discuss things, and things would be you'd teach things, would have some discussion afterwards, during, before the sessions, in the groups, in the chats, and I think that gave me all these different layers of learning, and actually really forced me to implement the things that I was learning, rather than maybe take 10% and just put that into my business on the Monday and then kind of forget about it. So I think theory is one thing, implementation is absolutely another. The peer group was vitally important, absolutely number one. I think
just to explore that point. So when we're talking about implementations, we talk a lot about information's one thing, but implementation is completely different, and execution is everything. I think what you were credited for by your peers based on the year was you took literally every single, and when we've been going through it this week, every single bit of training you got on Property Entrepreneur, you executed without fault. It was consistent, it was to a T. And some of us might struggle with that level of execution. For those people who are watching who understand in theory how it works, but they do lack that ability to execute, what happened? How over the last 12 months did you manage to execute at the highest level when other people watching this might be really struggling to get out of the traps?
Yeah, I think they say execution without strategy is useless.
Okay.
And it works the other way around as well. Strategy without execution is also useless. So first thing was, with the Property Entrepreneur's Journey, the very first thing we looked at was getting clarity and getting a strategy.
Yeah.
So first quarter was spent doing that. So I really got absolutely clear on what success looked like for me and what I wanted. So that was great to set the general direction of the business and my life. I think after that, writing a business plan. I think, getting a business plan together. It's actually the first time I'd ever tangibly written a business plan. I had a vision. It was like a one-page vision, because my coach at the time said it should fit on a page. It should be very dreamy and lofty. That's fine. But actually, this was, I think, in the end, about a 16-page business plan that we wrote together.
And it is a piece of art as well. I've read it cover to cover. It is the highest level of execution against the methodology.
Thank you. I just really enjoyed the process, because it was forcing me to look at identify all these areas of the business that I had perhaps neglected at times. We all go to the things that are easy for us, the low-hanging fruit. So, we went away for 3 days as part of the AGM in Mallorca. It wasn't quite so sunny as it is now. We got our heads down and we all wrote our business plans. And then I was so enthused, by that process and the learnings that we did, that I just, I went away afterwards and built it out even further, and then actually followed your example and got it published. So publishing the business plan, having a tangible plan for me to hold me accountable, because as entrepreneurs, we can all see a shiny penny, get excited about something new. We see something on a YouTube video, we meet someone at a property seminar, I'm going to go and just do that or focus on this. But actually, that isn't the answer. I think to be successful, you have to have absolute focus. So for me, pinning my colours to the mast with my published business plan was so valuable, and that only came after getting some good strategy. And it was not only valuable for me, but valuable for my team.
I was going to say,
because then it was a case of, right guys, get it out of my head, this is what we're doing. And I gave them all a copy with their names on, delivered it, introduced them, and the shift was noticeable.
Absolutely. When you sit that printed business plan down in front of your life partner, your business partner, your investors, your team, as far as execution, you're putting your head on the block then to say, look, you read this is what I'm going to now go and deliver, and all falls at your door as to whether you pull it off or not.
I think people have this dream in business that they can be their own boss and not be accountable to anyone, but I think it's very important. You have to remember, you are accountable. You're accountable to your customers, you're accountable to your shareholders, you're accountable to your team. So putting something out there was a little sort of the little monkey brain, little gremlin saying, don't do this, you'll have to actually, if you do this, you'll have to actually do it. But I did. I just went 2 feet in, and it was a very useful process. There's a lot of value in that. So,
fantastic. Any other, so that there's huge value in that, like that's how you execute. Any other key learnings from going through the journey, the year that you've been through?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, just before we talk about the learnings, I think, the other real, I think there was things I did as part of Property Entrepreneur that I probably wouldn't have done. I think the business plan really focused for me on profitability for the business, and executing that, actually meant that we made the business like about 40% more profitable by the end of the year. I had to double check the figures, because we executed everything and the whole team was behind it. Everyone was pulling in that direction, and the goal was the bottom line, and we delivered on the bottom line. So absolutely over the moon with that. And the other thing I did was, relatively easy actually, with your help and a few other people, was was raise some debt for the business. You know, I actually successfully raised £300,000 just to like I'd say strengthen the balance sheet and, you know, give us some resilience and some opportunity to grow. And I raised that money on very favourable terms. You know, part using crowdfunding, part using more traditional debt, and it was just a really great option for the business. So I really executed on that as well. So there was some huge highlights from the year.
Very
But
good.
I think, you know, if anyone's out there watching and they're thinking, you know, like I said, I've already got a business, everything's going all right. You know, you don't know what you don't know. So, you know, be open perhaps to.
Absolutely.
You know,
And your business was
ideas.
already lucrative. When we looked at it at the beginning of the programme, we looked at it and said, you know, it's very well established, it's very lucrative. To go and then add 40% on top of the profit margin and raise a further £300,000, and we used the crowdfunding platform. How many hours did it take to raise that £300,000 once it went live?
Well, I mean, actually, it was incredible. You know,
yeah.
I think that there was a lot of work leading up to it, a lot of negotiations on the fees, and, you know, the best option for me, the best platform. But once we launched, I think we raised the full funds in only a few hours.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. And the broker said to me, you know, I said, well, are you going to get questions from potential investors? He said, you know, yes, but you know, I've got a good feeling about this. And as it was live, he said to me, Adam, we're getting so many, it's filling up so quickly, I'm not even going to bother replying to the questions because there's so much demand for this. So
Amazing.
it was an amazing moment and a real good example of, you know, riding the crest of a wave, something we talk about in Property Entrepreneur, like be in the moment. And I think crowdfunding is an opportunity for those entrepreneurs. And if you are an entrepreneur and you do have a business, you should be looking at creative finance.
Yeah, anyone who's out there at the minute starting, systemising or scaling a business and doesn't have access to the finance they need, you know, you really aren't making the most of the opportunity that's out there. We talk about the fact that the 125% mortgage is back. And what we mean by that is, in the same way we look back on, you know, 5-10 years ago, and the fact that you used to be able to get 125% mortgages, and that seems absolutely ludicrous. I genuinely believe in the next 5 or 10 years, we'll look back on today at crowdfunding, EIS, CDIS, all the private investment that's available, and think exactly the same. You know, how on earth did people, you know, how on earth did we not make the most of this, or how on earth did that even happen? Because the opportunities are literally endless, and it is crazy when you get into it and you understand how it works. It's never been easier. So those of you that are joining the program, you'll understand this when we go through it. It's absolutely game changing for our businesses. So sort of summarising and looking towards sort of key learnings or 3 top tips, what else could you share for people watching this to go away and add to their business?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of learnings. To be honest with you, first one would be mindset.
Okay.
I think there's something that you taught us on the board, that it's all a game.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, at the end of the day, your livelihood is on the line. You know, your reputation is on the line. You know, you can get very bogged down in all that kind of stuff. I think you have to remember that your friends are still going to be your friends. Your family's still going to be your family, no matter what happens. And if you've ever had a rough year or rough day or rough month in life or business, you know, we can all get a little bit bogged down. I think it's very important to understand that this is all a game. And if you treat it like a game, there are rules and there are winners and there are losers. But those, you know, success and failure, as you said, is very predictable. So, you know, it's very predictable in football. If you train, you know, every day, eat right, get your sleep, get good coaching, you'll excel, right? So, you know, that's all part of it. You know, I think in business it's exactly the same. So treat it as a game, but, you know, play to win, right? So that for me was just absolute, like, changer for my mindset. So
Those of you that have watched this interview series of the 2008 Property Entrepreneurs, every single one of them has talked about this concept of it being a game, and I do understand that you won't get it. What we're not saying is being blasé and flippant and don't worry about it, it's all a game. It is all a game, and the biggest game is mainly against yourself. It's your mindset, it's your productivity, it's having clarity as to where you're going, it's discipline, it's focus. But when you understand it is a game, it does give you a sense of release and an ability to just crack on with things, and you become more resilient to challenges and problems and things like that. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Everybody else has mentioned that so far.
yeah, so I think, you know, just building on that is probably the most important learning is, you know, you asked me how I was able to execute at that level, and it's mindset. I think protecting the goose was probably my biggest learning. You know, I think you have to look, you know, in order to play the game at that level, you have to look after yourself. You have to get the sleep. You have to change your nutrition. You know, so I decided to, you know, really up my training. You know, I've lost quite a lot of weight since the start of the program. I've really upped my training. I've changed my nutrition. I've changed my daily schedule. I've made sure I'm around inspiring people. There's lots of other things outside of business I've done as a result of the program to allow me to to execute at that level.
Yeah.
So second learning is look after the golden goose, which by the way is you. You are the number one asset. You can't flog the horse forever and ever and ever. You must pace yourself. If you think about the analogy of an F1 driver, an F1 driver's job is to win the race in the slowest possible time, to preserve the tyres, right? Lewis Hamilton's out in front. He's not caning every lap. He's doing what he needs to do to win because he has to preserve the tyres. And I think it's the same in entrepreneurship. And I think I was guilty, definitely, a couple of years ago, of just working hard, long hours, but none of the rest and recuperation that's needed to operate creatively and at that level. So, number one, protect the goose.
Excellent. There's so many reasons why we don't do that. Yeah, there's so many reasons why lots of us don't do that because, badge of honour of working hard, the feeling that, mistaking activity for progress. We were even talking this morning, and when you understand the Property Entrepreneur methodology, it is a way of working, and we live our lives by it, but we rely on it, and we still have to challenge each other on how these things work. And we were talking this morning about giving yourself the right and the capacity to go and do these things. We've been away in Mallorca for 3 or 4 days working on Property Entrepreneur, and it's like, although it's a nice surrounding and things like that, and it's nice to enjoy the process, we don't want to begrudge ourselves the fact that we're out of the office and we're not working 18 hours a day. The value that we're creating in sitting down and working on the program is far more valuable than it would be for us running around doing X, Y, Z, banging away in our inbox. It is keeping that. And that is a real challenge as you progress through the levels, and especially as you build a team. It is a real personal challenge that you'll all experience. So any a final top tip or learning to share with people?
Yeah, a final one I think is, this is quite hard for entrepreneurs, is don't start until it's finished.
Yeah.
So, you wouldn't start building a house unless you had the plans. I think it's the analogy you use. You wouldn't just lay bricks randomly and think the walls are going to go there. You would actually get an architect. You would design the plans, and then you would go through that process. So it's exactly the same in your business. And this really comes down to the strategy versus execution thing again. So, take the time, take a step back, stop growing your business. Stop taking on new properties, stop doing new deals. Give yourself the space in the right season. So we talk about the property entrepreneur's journey and the 4 seasons in the year. There is time for everything in the year, and that's a really important thing that Property Entrepreneur allows. It allows space for everything. And right now we're coming into the strategy season, into the autumn. So you must be in flow with the seasons. Take the time and really think very, very carefully and very, very hard about what it is you're building. Because if you're not doing things by intention, you won't end up where you want to be. So start with the end in mind. You've probably heard all the sayings before, but they're so true. Start with the end in mind, build the plans, and then execute. Don't just work harder, work longer, do more deals, and thinking that one day it'll all be okay. Because that is known as the hamster wheel. Yeah. That's the rat race. That's what we all started a business not to do. So don't make that mistake. Have the discipline to not do the extra deals. Get clear. Don't start until it's finished.
Very good.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys got a huge amount of value from that. Watching Adam over the last 12 months execute the Property Entrepreneur methodology literally without flaw, and seeing the value that's added to his business has been absolutely game changing. Any final shares, top tips, anything you want to share before we finish?
I think, to be honest, I think I've covered everything. I think it's an absolute pleasure being here talking to you. Really enjoyed being in sunny Mallorca. This is where we seem to come back to on Property Entrepreneur. It's like our little home away from home. I'd say I'm really looking forward to the opportunity of hosting the program this year. Yeah. I've met a lot of the delegates already on one of the accelerators, and some of the stuff that we're coming up with. We've really taken the program on a level. I think you'll agree that we've really upped the game for this year. So we've got lots of exciting stuff to come, and I'm really looking forward to seeing everyone deliver like we have this year in the board.
Lovely. So if anyone watching this wants to reach out to you with regards to Property Entrepreneur or Capital Living, investment, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, Adam Goff, Goff, Capital Living, and I'm also on Instagram as well, Adam Goff UK.
Lovely. Well, thank you, Adam. Cheers for joining us. It's been a pleasure to share the last sort of 15-20 minutes with you, and look forward to the year ahead and seeing what you've got, seeing what we're going to do with Capital Living and Property Entrepreneur and the 12 months ahead. So thank you very much. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and I wish you all the best of luck. Thank you very much.